Based on George R. Stewart's groundbreaking 1949 post-apocalyptic novel Earth Abides, MGM discreetly debuted one of its most riveting and provocative series earlier this month. After a horrific sickness wipes out most of humanity, the similarly titled 6-episode series takes place in modern-day California instead of the 1940s. After a snake bite drives geologist Ish Alexander Ludwig from the mountains where he has been isolated working on his graduate thesis, he learns what has happened to the globe. In the premiere, after learning that his loved ones had perished in the pandemic, Ish faces a new kind of loneliness before meeting Emma Jessica Francis Dukes, the love of his life, who has also survived the fatal illness. The series has already delved into 17 years in the lives of Ish, Emma, and the other survivors they form a community with by the time episode 4 of Earth Abides arrives. Prior to the premiere, I spoke with Alexander Ludwig and Jessica Francis Dukes, the stars of the series, about their characters, what it was like for Ludwig to spend so much of episode 1 by himself as Ish, what animals their characters would be because the show is based so heavily on very basic animal instincts, and what it was like to go from Earth Abides to their upcoming roles in Night Comes in the Gilded Age. Our enjoyable talk can be viewed in the player above, or you can read the entire transcript below. Alex, since you spend 95% of the first episode alone, you get to do a lot of the externalization of Ish's feelings throughout that episode, which is why I chose to start with you. What was it like for an actor to be able to concentrate on the physicality of sensations and emotions rather than internalizing them and use dialogue? Ludwig, what a fantastic question. In my opinion, that was one of the primary factors that drew me to the show. When I read this pilot episode, I recall thinking, how in the world can to give away too much? A little bit of smoke means so much as an ending to a pilot. It was the most intimidating, horrifying, and rewarding event of my career for me to have to internalize this experience that Ish is going through. It was really lonely despite having a big team with you, which is something I didn't really anticipate. When I was able to work with Brass, also known as Lucky, that incredible dog, I was quite appreciative. Laughs, the show's main character, Emma, who is portrayed by the amazing Jessica Francis Dukes, comes last, of course. However, it was a genuine gift and the event of a lifetime. Seeing everything play out in the first episode was stunning. The heartbeat becomes noticeable in episode 2. You're absolutely correct. Speaking with actors about how they develop their characters beyond what is written on the page is something I truly enjoy doing. In these first 4 episodes, I also gave it a lot of thought, because it's a series about very basic human emotions and you interact with a lot of animals, both domestic and wild. What kinds of animals do you both think truly represent Ish and Emma's personalities, and did you ever consider using animals to help develop your characters? Indeed, Jessica Francis Dukes. Her name is Mama Bear. She is 100% Mama Bear. I was thinking, she's handing him Honey Bear when I made a small joke about the honey in the second episode. She is this thing that you look at and say, oh my god, I genuinely think. It's this massive force. She will, however, cut through anything that stands in her path. Thus, she was always a bear to me. I believe that to be quite true. Ludwig, it's funny that you mentioned that. Indeed, I find the animal thing fascinating and have used it in my performances. However, it wasn't something I first drew upon in this particular instance. However, I would go with an elk if I had to describe the animal I believe Ish to be. He may be fierce if necessary, but he tends to be a bit of a recluse since he can be stubborn. But that's amusing. I've never really considered that for this particular character. That's it. It will be prepared and ready to go if someone else requests for it today. Returning to the Mama Bear issue, Earth Abides is fascinating because it raises similar issues to those discussed in shows like The Walking Dead. Despite the terrible danger, people are still attempting to start families, create life, and regain the sincerity and innocence they once possessed before this tragedy. Where is her mind when it comes to bringing children into the world, Jessica? Is it the sincere worry that they will get the sickness and relive the trauma that occurred before the episode begins, or is it the sheer hope that they will survive and simply keep on surviving and begin a new life? Dukes, in my opinion, she has no fear of anything in life. I believe that her entire family is from a large family. Again, in my perspective, that is what she desires most, even before Ish, not to be disrespectful. This is what my body is designed for, she explains. You know, she's Eve's new. Her title is Mother of Nations. In the book, that's what he calls her. Her purpose is clear to her and goes beyond the notion that a woman is only here to give birth. Women do this because we are here to both start again and heal the world. I simply adored portraying her since she is such a stunning, strong creature. That is fantastic. What a fantastic response. To what extent were you both familiar with this book? Although I had read it a long time ago, I believe it became much more relevant when we recently experienced a pandemic. It's funny, Michael Wright informed me over the phone. There's this book called Earth Abides. You must take advantage of the offer that is coming your way. It will be both the most rewarding and the most difficult thing you have ever done. He made all of those promises. When I looked it up, I recognized the book's cover and wondered whether I had ever seen it on my grandmother's shelf or anything. However, after reading it, I was astounded to learn that it was written in 1949. Today, this is really relevant. In many respects, George R. Stewart's ideas were very progressive, yet they were also almost biblical, and I was immediately enthralled. The optimism, however, was what I cherished most about it. Despite all of the drama and sorrow you have gone through, and the fact that people are forced to work like primitive animals, there is still optimism that perhaps this time they will rebuild and do it correctly, and I adore that.